Today, we will have 8 competitors competing for the renowned title of winner of the TheCager Chess Championship. There will be 3 rounds. Round 1 will consist of 1v1 matchups, 5-1 blitz. Round 2 will consist of best of 3 matchups, where we will spin a wheel to decide what game is played with a bunch of different variant matchups and regular chess. And then the finale with the remaining 2 people will be a best of 5 or best of 7 matchup where we also spin the wheel. Thank you for clicking on the video and enjoy. Round 1 of the TheCager Chess Championship will be King xe4, who is a fan favorite, versus Mostawafa Chess. These players are rated around 1900 to 2000 rapid, and they will be playing a 5-1 blitz. I wish them both luck. All right, game 1 of the TheCager Chess Championship is officially underway. We have a Guico piano game. It started with e4, e5, knight to f3, and followed as you see here, completely symmetrical position. Now, King xe4, fan favorite by far. If he wins this game, he does get moderator, which will be a great addition to the team. Drops the bishop back, immediately makes the trade. Now, the rook is open on the a file, putting immediate pressure on the a7 pawn. The knight likes to rotate over to g3 to possibly start an attack on the king side. But if you know anything about these tournaments, literally anything can happen. And it gets crazy down to the wire. So, if he wins the whole thing, yes. If King xe4 wins the entire tournament, he will be crowned I guess moderator, you know? He's been searching for that title for a while. Tripole is also in running for moderator. You do have to earn it here on the channel. Boy kind of was gifted it a little bit. If Boy wins, I will permanently give him moderator, you know? Okay, so pushes f5. Now, this is interesting because the center isn't really locked yet. You know, so the black king, the light squares could become a danger. So if white were to open up with d4 and try to attack on the light squares, they may have the opportunity to, and they choose to do so. But you have to see that the e-pawn is hanging, and you do have to respond to that now. There was an intermezzo, as the bishop did have to move. So pushes e5. Now this is opening up the position exactly as I said, because now the black king is a little bit weak. This knight feels a little bit misplaced, as it really can't return into the game right now. So it will be very interesting to see how King xe4 responds. He does decide to to push the pawn, and it is defended by 2 pieces, so it's chill right now. It is relaxing. But it seems like the pawns might fall in the center, might be chopped down, open up the position, get out the light square bishop. Elects to move the rook over to e1, just getting it on a better file. You know, this rook is still providing pressure over here on the pawns, but having double isolated pawns on the b file can become a weakness towards the end of the game. Once all the pieces are traded off the board, you know, that could be bad. Also, I am now Diamond 3 on Valorant, which is hype as hell. Just saying, Diamond 3, we're climbing the ranks, man. Black, I will say from the black perspective, I do think he looks better. It's more controlled. These pawns are just going to be targets for the rest of the game. This knight is serving its purpose. It's not going to be able to really get kicked out because there are 2 knights in the way. Decent clock management by both players, only down a minute each. King xe4 with his biggest think of the game, spending a lot of time here. But I imagine chopping down the center, a move like this, maybe try to get the bishop out. You know, there might be some sacrifices on the h-pawn. But you can also start going after these pawns. So maybe a move like bishop to d6 and then possibly bringing up the queen could be a decent idea. Just try to put pressure here. This bishop isn't going anywhere, doing a good job defending the back. But we'll put it back over to the white perspective. Is Luffy here? Luffy, you will be on the next matchup playing against Wizard Asta, okay? Thank you for showing up, by the way. Much love. Much love. All right, so he elects to take in the center. I like this move personally. I feel like it does open up the position a little bit more than you might like, because the black king can start taking hits pretty soon. But at the same time, I feel like these pawns are really not doing anything good. You know, like these are going to be weaknesses. And a King xe4 elects to trade the queens going into an endgame where these pawns, you're really going to start feeling the heat, feeling the pressure of trying to defend these guys. Black pawns haven't moved. None of these are weaknesses. I guess you could argue that the B pawn is a weakness, but how are you going to attack it? White doesn't have a light square bishop. The only overextended piece is the F pawn, but with queens off the board, it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Now, elects to jump the knight into the center, which actually does attack. Ooh, tactics. Tactics have been set up. So you cannot take the bishop as the rook will fall. That's interesting. And now you're also threatening to take this pawn again because the knight will not be able to capture as the rook would get in as well. Great move by king xe4. I probably would have moved the other rook. Probably move the a rook and get it into the game. But you also do want to keep an eye on the a7 pawn. So maybe having two defenders there would be decent. But great move. And a lot of tactics on the board now. A lot of mistakes that could happen. But knight d4 did seem like the proper response. So moves the rook up, and now it is being defended. So there wouldn't be any tactics on that front. King comes forward, immediately snaps off the bishop. Kind of saw that one coming. Probably retake with the king, and then continue to push the pawn. I don't believe there's any checks. Trading the rooks would be okay, as you would get the open file, and there would be more threats. Now, probably try to capture this pawn and get the other knight in the game is what I would do for the white pieces, or with the black pieces. And with white, probably go after this pawn now, you know. Make trades and try to win this pawn. And they do that. And also allows another trade and holds on to the pawn. Very good ideas by white. Now up a pawn in this game. But these pawns are still going to be weaknesses. I do not see any way that you can really protect this pawn without making your rook very passive. And notice how these pawns are just completely defended. There is no way to actually attack this pawn as long as this bishop stands here defending the dark squares. So, this will be interesting. Okay, both players down to under 2.5 minutes. King xe4 a little bit over 2.5, but overall good time control. King xe4 now taking a time lead of about 20 seconds, which could be crucial. You do get 1 second back for a 5-minute game, okay, so decides to drop the pawn, and now the pawn is back. Now, the thing about this king and pawn in-game is this pawn is absolutely going to be a weakness. These pawns can't be weaknesses. I mean, they're defended well. So this pawn is overextended. This pawn is underextended. And black's pawn structure is, I would argue, a lot nicer. Now, moves that you can look at is probably like f4 and then try to bring... Oh, you can't even play that because the bishop pen. But sliding the king over, now electing that. But this pawn is going to fall. I don't see how you really defend it outside of here, which will immediately get hit by g5, and then you have to drop back, but space is gained. Slides the rook up. Now, I do believe you can take... Yep. And then probably go, if they elect to trade, you're just going to be up a clean two pawns. Have a 3-on-1 majority on the left side, on the queen side. Well, 3-on-2 is easy to defend. And same colored bishops means that any drawing chances are pretty much out the door. Most off a chess now down to 1:30, running low on the clock. King c4 with a full minute time lead. He seems like the clear favorite to win this one. Unless something tragic happens. But I don't think any mates are going to happen in this tournament. King xe4 with a tragic, trying to rebound from his last tournament where he went down in a mate-in-1 situation where he blundered when the pressure was at the highest. Oh, man. Boy for life, you're going to be playing Derpole in the next round. Elects to push the pawn and then probably drop the bishop back. Bishop more in the center is preferred. I probably would have liked it to go to b6 just for aesthetic reasons. Okay, but you could start pushing the pawn, so I guess, yeah, that would make sense. Now, immediately using his majority pawn advantage and just starting to push these pawns down the board. I like the play by King xe4. Also playing very quick, as you have noticed. He hasn't spent much time in his last few moves because he really needs to take advantage of the time advantage and try to make Mosto off a chess have some blunders. Because I've seen mistakes happen in low time trouble, and it's very entertaining. Immediately tried to trade off the bishop. I really like this play. White must keep the bishop on the board or else the game would just be completely lost. Now trying to break up the pawn structure so you have two past isolated pawns, and then you just try to make those get down the board. I would like to bring the black king probably over here to help support the pushes, which they elect to do so. And then if you could trade off this bishop, that is your main goal. I'm not sure how you defend this pawn, actually. It might have been an overextension. How to join the TheCager Chess Championship? You have to join the Discord, and I post signups. We're going to be doing it every Friday from now on. This may go into a draw, unless Mosto Alpha Chess does run out of time, but this pawn is going to start going, and there's really no way. Oh, getting behind the pawns. I really like the idea. It was kind of like using that pawn as bait to get the white king way out of the position, and now you can just go around and gobble all these pawns. Mosto Alpha Chess running low on time. Now down to 40 seconds. Oh, man. If the game does end in a draw, we will go into like a 1-minute bullet You know? Will that mean a new mod every Friday? No. Only people who are in the running for mod will get mod. People who I trust, which Derpole and King XC4 are by far the top two, and I might give them mod eventually. I don't know. All right, immediately pushes G4 and loses a pawn, but this is going to go into a draw, probably. Well, actually, no. If you can't defend this pawn, which you are now able to. Okay, but the king is just far closer. Now, if you're able to trade off the bishops in one way or another, win this pawn, and then you'll have a 2-pawn lead. But it's seeming like this might go into a draw. There's really not any moves that either player can make here. But Mostoafa Chess also down to 15 seconds, so he is going to have to play really fast regardless, which is fun to see. Shuffles pieces, continues to shuffle, and then elects to take. And I do believe that is just going to be a win, as you will have a 2-pawn lead, and there's hardly any way to defend it. As if you were to save the bishop, 2 pawns are going to have it. And King XE4 takes game number 1, and a slugfest to the end. Mostoafa Chess getting low on time, and King XE4 with an amazing performance. Congratulations. You are finally moving on to round 2 of the tournament. Congratulations for playing. Mostoafa Chess, better luck next time. Thank you for participating. All right, let's go get round 2 set up of the TheCager Chess Championship. Okay. Mostoafa Chess, you have been eliminated. Thank you for participating. King XE4, congratulations. All right, for our next matchup, it is going to be Luffy versus Wizard Asta. This is the fairest matchup. Both players are around 1,000 rapid, so we will see. All right, and the next matchup has begun. Luffy with the white pieces, Wizard Asta with the black pieces, going into a Karo Khan defense. Does Luffy know the proper response? Now, you can see that they're rated, and elects for the advanced variation and playing properly. As you can see, their elos are a little bit lower because this is Blitz. I go off of rapid elos because I do feel like that is the best way to rate it. Both players playing very fast. Very electric. And so far, so good. I think both players are playing into their opening pretty well. Okay, so the main part about the Karo is splitting up these pawns and then making them targets. And Wizard Asta is doing that very well, following into the game line or the game plan. Now, you don't necessarily want to lose this bishop, as having a square of pawns like this really wouldn't be that great. So I would probably want to bring up the queen so that doesn't happen, because now double isolated pawns on the e-file, the pawns are becoming weaknesses, and Wizard Asta actually playing perfectly into the Karo Khan defense. Really just starting great. Incredible. What, didn't the stream just start? Yeah, it started 17 minutes ago, 15 minutes. I started a little bit before 5:30, but all right. Or, yeah. All right, bring up the queen to D3. Black, I love Black's position right now, as white just has too many weaknesses on the board that can be exploited. Now moves like rook to B8, just putting pressure on the B pawn. This knight is going to struggle to get out. You have immense pressure on the E pawn, and you can probably put some more pressure on the E5 pawn as well. Elects to play B4. I like this move. Bishop only really has one square. You could go back here and maybe rotate, but dropping back here I feel like is the better move. And now you could even elect to push the C pawn and even take more space, but I would like to see the rooks get into the game and the queen off the back rank. Okay, so far solid play by both sides. No material advantage on either side, but overall I do like the coordination of Black's position. I feel like White kind of has a lot of weaknesses. Immediately elects to play E4, actually getting rid of one of his weaknesses. I like this move a lot, as these pawns were going to become major targets towards the end of the game. Now elects to remove the bishop. I probably would have taken first just to remove that sort of weakness, and then maybe elect to play C4, but decides to probably take back with a knight is best, so you can keep defense on the E5 pawn. Rook slides over to the middle to the D8 square, now kind of wanting to open up with a fork on the pieces and with an attack on the queen. Queen slides over. Now, okay, very interesting position by both sides. I'm not sure exactly how Black should continue. I don't really like rook to C8 originally. I think on the B file, the semi-open B file would have been a lot better. Bringing the rook to the E file, there's too many pieces in the way. I feel like there's more active spots. Like the D file is probably pretty good. A4 needs to be played eventually. And then maybe bringing the other rook to the C file and try to break that open, break up this very strong center. Oh, man. So far right now, it seems like Luffy is the underdog and the crowd favorite, which is very fun. Okay, yeah, rook slides over to d1. Still looking at a4. You need to get this pawn out, but now you can't really, as there are going to be weaknesses. Probably bringing up with the rook, playing defense like that, and maybe trying to double is the appropriate play here. But you do have to hold on to your a pawn. You can't elect to lose this so early, and elect to play rook to d2. Love it. But an immediate fork, but this doesn't actually work here, as you can just take, and then you actually do win a pawn, which is nice. Now Luffy actually up a pawn, and with an attack on the king, if he gets enough pieces like rook to e3 and sliding it over, he can put some immense pressure here. I see some ideas building, you know? Oh, man. And as far as tournament signups go, it's the first 8 who apply, and we do have a reserves list for people who don't show up. Luckily, I do believe everyone is here. I'm not sure about Chess Novice. I'm not sure if he showed up. I might have to make a replacement for him, but that will probably be not Pabu, as he is the next in line. So now the rook does slide up and is probably going to rotate himself over here. There are no checks. All the pawns are defended. And these rooks are very passive here. So now slides the rook over to b8, but there is just no pressure. You probably need to play a move like c5, trying to break up this and get the rook into the game. And then maybe you can have some threats there. There are also ideas of trying to get the queen over to c1. I think there probably was a tactic to where you could take the pawn and then drop the queen back with check and win the rook. King slides over. This is a very safe square for the king. You do have to be a little bit cautious about losing this pawn. Rook comes up one. I'm not sure necessarily what that accomplishes, but it hanging the a pawn. I feel like this is a very bad move. I'm not sure about rook to d4. Now setting up the mating threat, but elects to defend pretty easily. Now I'm stretching because I was told to, and I need to, honestly. Okay, so we have takes in the center. But now, honestly, you could probably bring this other rook over and just go for a full frontal assault on the black king. I really don't see how you can stop, like, queen to f6 and over like this. I think you probably have to... I really don't see how you can stop this checkmate. The king is going to have to start running early, rather than later. I don't think any pawn moves are going to work because the king would just take, and that would be checkmate. But this is pretty much... I do believe that the king is going to have to start running over, but I really don't see how you can stop this checkmate from approaching. Luffy, now with all of the momentum towards the black king, is checkmate going to happen? Is the underdog Luffy, the fan favorite, going to take this one home? I'm very curious. It'll be interesting to see how black proceeds and to respond and see if they can somehow muster a defense. I really don't see any moves. I don't think this really accomplishes anything. I now think, yeah, you can slide the queen over. I do believe that the more active spot would have been queen to h6 as you cut off any of the king's escapes. But now you are just threatening checkmate. So it is just going to be mate in 2. I don't believe mate in 1 is now on the board, and I do not believe that there is any way to stop it. I do believe that Luffy is going to take home the winner. Yeah, queen to f6 better. I mean, okay. My fault. I realize this is better because then you could push the f pawn and the king could escape this way, but it's fine. Is there any way to join still at this point? At any point? No, not right now. The signups are closed. We have our players here. We have a replacement. So, yeah. So if the queen were to come out here, you probably have f5, but then you could take with a rook, and it's still probably going to be game. But there is no way for Wizard Asta to stop this checkmate. So it is just a formality at this point. We will wait for him to make his final move or resign, and we'll move on to the next one. But it seems like Luffy, very strong performance in this game, making some strange moves, but they ended up working in the end after takes. And Wizard Asta does elect to resign. Y'all did play a rated blitz game, which is kind of funny. Preferably all the matchups here, please be unrated. But congratulations, Luffy, for moving on to the next round. Very strong performance. You did fantastic. Wizard Asta, thank you for playing. Your presence is welcomed, and thank you for showing up on time. Let's go over to the round 1 home screen, and I am sorry, but Wizard Asta, you have been eliminated from the tournament. Thank you for playing. All right. Now for our next matchup, we are going to have Garv versus Derpole. Good luck. If y'all could go ahead and set that up. So The next game will be Garv versus Derpole. Both players are around 14 to 1600 rapid. Garv is the favorite here, as he is around 1600 rapid, while Derpole is around 1400. As far as their blitz goes, I am unsure. Derpole has been playing pretty strong, but Garv did have a very nice performance in the last tournament. So we'll see who can take this one. Both are fan favorites here. Also, thank you to Pole. He is the one who actually has designed the TheCager Championship. I've been using it all the time. We talk thumbnails, we talk YouTube videos. Very, very, very thankful for him. Isn't the art great? TheCager Championship, it's great. He also came up with the idea or the name, which I love. Okay, the game has begun. Game number 3 of the first round of the TheCager Championship. Derpole with the white pieces, Garv with the black pieces. Apparently, Derpole is a slightly higher rated blitz player, which I was not aware of. But I imagine Garv does not play that much blitz. Both players, D4, D5, now playing a Queen's Gambit by Derpole. I've noticed that we have the very similar repertoires. Playing the classical Queen's Gambit declined. Now, I typically like moving the bishop here and playing more with pressure, but now we're going into sort of like a Nimzo Indian type of defense. But not really, kind of. Just a Queen's Gambit, classical with the bishop putting pressure on the knight. Probably, honestly, I like moves like queen to c2. You could still bring out the bishop if you would like, maybe queen to b3. You can even kick out the bishop immediately. You don't have to respond to this, but I would prefer to get the bishop out, maybe even break the pin before you play e3. e3 is a must eventually if you want to win back the pawn. Elects to play bishop to f4. Totally okay with this. Now a move like e3 is nice. Now, Garv can play b5 here, just real quick, mainly because the knight is in. So immediately elects to jump into the center, putting pressure on this knight. But I imagine queen to c2 kind of just takes care of any threats that might be here. And now I feel like this is an overcommitment of a piece, as you need to spend more time getting your other pieces out into the game. You can't go to battle with just a knight. I feel like that does respond here. And now playing an aggressive f5. Very interesting play. Probably win back the pawn. And then castle is what I would elect to do. I feel like f5 is very overcommittal. Because now, are you ever going to castle kingside? Because you're just going to have weaknesses, especially with the dark squares. f5 is a very interesting move. I'm curious to see how Derpole responds. And Derpole does elect to capture the pawn on c4. I like the move a lot. And then decides to castle. Right into already weakening the position, but you can start an attack soon. Immediately tries to kick out the bishop. Bishop is probably going to capture. You have to capture back with the pawn. Capturing with the queen would be absolutely tragic. All right, so now the knight is still pretty strong in the center, but you can always have options to trade it off. But getting castled is probably the best idea. Garv elects to slide his king out from the light squares, just kind of more protected into the corner. Now electing to try to take the knight and win a pawn here. I actually really do like that play. Notice how white's pieces are all very active, while black only has a knight in the center. That's kind of why I don't like f5, because you need to spend time getting your other pieces out into the game. And now this knight could even just jump clean into the center. Just stop any pawns from pushing and just have great control of black's like home squares or main squares. And then you could even elect to have some sacrifices, castle, maybe even, probably not castle long, but castle and start pushing or just start pushing the h-pawn. You can even bring your king up. You are very safe. But I do like white's position a lot. His pieces are a lot more active. These pieces have not been touched. Meanwhile, all of these pieces seeing the best squares that they can. All right, so knight elects to develop to c6. I like the move, and then immediately trying to trade off. Now, this bishop is a monster. Very difficult to trade off. But now trying to. Honestly, now I would like f4. I feel like f4 would be very strong here, and then trying to bring the rook over and into an attack. Just because having the pawns like this wouldn't be that great, but if you can capture like, I really like f4 here. You can also elect to just kind of drop the bishop back. You do have that choice, but f4 I'm very much a fan because this is on an outpost square. So if you can recapture with a pawn, that would be great. Because no pawns can actually kick this piece out, so you're not in danger of trapping it, you know? But, okay. So far, great performance by both sides. Derpole now down to under 2.5 minutes. Running low on time, does find f4. I like the play. Garv with the sizable time advantage. That might be his winning method in here, is just kind of keeping on the pressure at all times. So queen to d5, I believe you can just kind of kick out. You can play c5, c4 and take more space. You can also play move, bringing up the rook, trying to slide it over, and then maybe play a move like g4, trying to open up that file for a checkmating attack. Also free pawn is hanging. Brought to my attention by Not Pabu that the c7 pawn was hanging for a second there. Trying to break up the center, I wouldn't really react to this. I imagine goes ahead and captures. I don't like capturing. Yeah, I wouldn't have captured. You didn't need to respond to that because now your pawns are just really weak. I do believe that is a mistake. That is an overreaction. You did not need to recapture here. Let him recapture and then strengthen your structure. Capturing here just breaks up all of your pawns, and now you have 4 isolated pawns on the queen side. Great play by Garv, understanding that. Now sliding over the rooks. Now I will say white does have more activity, but pawns are going to start falling as the c-pawn does also hang. But now you do have some momentum to attack. You know, as these pieces really haven't been touched, but all of white's pieces are active. Garv now up a pawn, but I don't think it's that big of a pawn, you know. But it'll be very interesting. King does slide over, giving flexibility to the e-pawn. You know, possible movements here, trying to really open up this attack. This pawn, the a-pawn does hang, but I'm not sure if black really has time to be able to defend it, because e4 is going to hit like a truck. Ooh, I like this move, putting a pin on the pawn. But now the rook probably could slide over or elects to capture, like giving up that trade. That is a very bold decision, going down the exchange. But now this is just another pawn that you can take, but you do have to be cautious about the back rank checkmates. There are areas where this could fall. But so far, I do think Garv just has a clear lead. Going up the exchange, that was a very bold choice by Derpole. Now down to a minute 10. Alexa take with the bishop. Okay, now the a-pawn does still technically fall, and now the rook is kind of pinned, but you have to be very cautious about back rank checkmates. Very cautious. If you elect to take and then you slide the rook over, you know you're going to have to give up that trade of the queen if he gives a check on a1. Very interesting play by both sides, but I do believe that Garv has all of the momentum here. Now brings the rook to the open e-file. This will just be checkmate, as the rook will have to drop back and you will have checkmate. Checkmate is now threatened on the board. How is Derpole going to respond? Oh, man. Yeah, boy is playing very well right now. So giving props to him on that front. Elects to drop back, still giving up this pawn. Now, this rook check doesn't really do anything now, but there might actually be lines where you can sacrifice the queen. Now that I think about it, I think rook takes is very good. Rook takes, and then you take back, and then you can even take with the queen. And then you would not be able to recapture there. But elects to go... Okay, that's an interesting move. Rook to e3, trying to trade off the rooks and win the bishop. I do believe that there was a moment there to get tactically fancy. Queen retakes on e3. Now, this bishop is threatened, as if you take, the queen cannot recapture. Now, honestly, a simple move, you could probably just bring the queen down one and then try to deliver a checkmate. Maybe even queen to f2. It's going to get interesting. I think there's a moment where the bishop can drop back. I do believe the bishop can defend the checkmating square, but you have to play bishop to d3. Bishop to d3 is the only move that will keep the game going. Now, honestly, I don't know what the strategy is here. Maybe trying to trade off the queens could prove not this immediately, but trading off the queens could prove to be pretty decently. To prove to be pretty decently. Now, this isn't a threat, but the pawn is threatened. Derpole, now down to 20 seconds, is going to have to start playing a lot faster, and that is going to be checkmate with either of these. Yeah. And then you have to block with the bishop, and that will be checkmate. Garv with an outstanding performance. Honestly, I would consider a comeback win, as I did think that he was losing space in the beginning of the game. Derpole with the unfortunate capture. I do believe that this move right here, taking the pawn, completely destroyed any sort of pawn structure that you might have. And Garv understanding that taking the bishop, he's just going to be able to pounce on all of these weaknesses. But overall, phenomenal game by both players. But sadly, Derpole, you have been eliminated. Thank you for playing. It was a very close game, and you played phenomenally. Garv now moving on to the next round. All right, so Chess Novice is not here, but Not Pabu, you are the immediate replacement. So game number 4 of the Cager Chess Championship is going to be Not Pabu and French Garlic Toast. Chess Novice did not show up. Both players are around 1900 to 2100 blitz, so it'll be very interesting. All right, for the final matchup of round 1 of the Cager Chess Championship, we have MB4 or Not Pabu with the white pieces, black with black with the black pieces, French Garlic Toast with the black pieces. We have C4, C5. This is how the first few moves went. Very interesting, keeping a pin on the king. And now we have the last move, played C6. Now, so far out of the opening, I think white is doing very well. This black bishop is going to be very difficult to get out. I feel like the queen is kind of blocking any sort of piece development. You know, this knight is going to really struggle to get into the game. But so far, I think white is absolutely crushing. Now develops his bishop to D3, immediately kind of making it stare at granite. Now the queen is hit, and the queen was almost lost there, genuinely. This is the only safe square for the queen to go. Very interested to see how this plays out. But so far, I do think that if black can somehow get a win here, it would be very, very impressive. Arguably, I probably would have given black or given French Garlic Toast the white pieces just so it's more fair. But too late. Too late to decide that. All right. So elects to trade off in the center, removing one of black's most active pieces. And now the queen is almost blunders. No. Yeah. Was that just a full blunder of a bishop? That was just a full blunder of a bishop. But is the queen going to get stuck? I actually don't think so. That's a very risky move, but you can still save the queen. Did I see that right? But now material is equal. That was just almost a full blunder of a bishop. Oh my goodness. Their nerves are high. The tensions are crazy. Goodness, Not Pabu might actually be fumbling. He is rated 2200 blitz, but also notice French Garlic Toast playing lightning fast. Still at 5 minutes, which is very impressive for a game like this. Immediately lashing out with A5. Holy cow. Now really putting the pressure, like the clock pressure on him. Immediately, wow, just going as quickly as you can. Queen comes forward. Kind of blocking all of the pieces here. Knight develops, putting tempo on the queen. Queen can continue to initiate, but it could get very scary. Oh man, this could be anybody's game. The material is equal, but French Garlic Toast is technically up a pawn. Down in exchange, 2 knights, a bishop and a knight for rook and a pawn is the exchange. Immediately playing E6. French Garlic Toast playing incredibly fast. It's honestly impressive. But I really don't see how he makes any further follow-up moves. I don't see how he improves. Probably needs to get his queen back into the game. Maybe even start making some plays on the king side. Oh man, very, very interesting game. I did not see that coming. I did not see the bishop hanging like that. Now immediately, and the bishop just gets threatened. Now probably take, and then take a pawn. Take the bishop, and that is a fork of pieces. What an impressive tactic by Not Pabu. Very well done there. Very quick exchanges. Pieces flying off the board now. But it still could be anybody's game. Not Pabu is now up in exchange, but that could change in an instant. Now electing to kind of put pressure on the pieces here and bring the queen slightly more over. Now ideas like bishop to c5, possibly putting mating threats pressure, even though they're technically not mate. But also, French Garlic Toast still putting immense pressure on the clock, only using 18 total seconds. Very impressive. Thank you, Pokemon, for the follow. I thought you already followed. I believe we're at 600 followers. Hell yeah. Hype as hell. Brings the queen, tries to trade off the queens, and takes. Okay. Very interesting strategy. I don't think trading off the queens there is the best, mainly because you are down in exchange. But now pieces are getting shuffled all over the place. White king, beautifully. And yeah, Foshan, already, okay. The white king, beautifully trying to center itself. And then sliding over the rook, trying to put pressure on this pawn. I don't really see how you can protect this pawn now. But you might lose this one as well. It's probably going to go takes. And now this pawn is hanging. You can put pressure. Oh, but you got to keep the defense of the pawn. Elects to give a check. King has to back up. and then pushes this pawn now to a safe square. It cannot be attacked on the light squares while his bishop is dark. Now, probably to slide over and put pressure on this pawn, because if you're able to trade off the bishop and the pawn, then it should be just be game. Now you could just take the pawn, but you don't want to lose this one. All right, rook slides over, gives a check, but now this pawn is just going to start going. Gives another check and takes. Very good movement. And this pawn is going, and there is no way to actually stop it. This pawn is going to promote, and Not Pabu is going to take the game. Very well done by both sides. Very good game. French Garlic Toast playing lightning fast, but that could have been his demise, playing too fast and making mistakes. And the game is going to end. Not Pabu taking the victory and now moving on to round 2. Congratulations to both players. Incredible game. Good job. Very well done. I could tell the nerves were there. You know, this game is very intimidating. But congratulations. Not Pabu moving on to the next round of the TheCager Chess Championship. Congratulations. Sadly, French Garlic Toast, you have been eliminated. Thank you for participating. It has been a pleasure to have you here. And now for round 2. It will be head-to-head matchups, best of 3, where we spin a wheel to decide what game is played. There is a bunch of different chess variants and chess games that can be decided. Whoever wins this will go on to the finale. It will be a best of 5 of the same fashion. All right, let's go ahead and get this set up. So for round 2, it will be Garv versus Luffy. Garv is definitely the higher rated player, and Luffy is coming into this battle as an underdog. Let's go ahead and get the game wheel up. All right, what will game number 1 be of the second round of the first game? We'll see. What will be decided? What will both players be playing? We have King of the Hill, where your goal is to get the king into the center of the board. Now, I don't necessarily know how to play this, but it'll be very interesting to see how both players approach this. If y'all could go ahead and make your way over to the variants page of chess.com, I will get the game set up. Both players are in. I'm going to go ahead and give Luffy the white pieces just to balance it out, as Garv is significantly higher rated. Chess variants, welcome. So now we have King of the Hill. The time control is going to be 3-2 blitz, and we're going to get started. Garv with the black pieces, Luffy with the white. Let's begin. Of the first round of the best, or the first game of the best of 3 matchup between these two players. And the game has now begun. Now your goal is to get your king into the center. If you manage to do that, you do just win the game. It'll be very interesting to see what strategies develop, because I really do not know how to play this. I'm curious. Okay. Yes. Both players are in, and the game is going. I wish both players the best of luck. King now just roaring into the center. Gives a check. Now you can, I believe you might be able to block with the pawn, actually. Block with the pawn, I can go take, and then you can even sacrifice the queen, as you will just get a king in the center. Is this going to end quickly? Takes, but then you can take back with the knight. The game might be over very quickly, actually, because that king is just going to go straight into the center. Oh, man. It brings the king. Or it brings the queen, sorry. Putting pressure on the pawn on d4 or e5 or e4. Now I imagine you probably have to defend. It would have been tragic if the game ended that quickly. All right. Now removing this pin is probably the best thing that you can do, and then try to get into this square. All right, putting immense pressure on this knight. I really don't see how you can defend it. King slides over. That's just game over, basically. That's checkmate, right? In 2. And you're going to be able to take. That's very close to checkmate. Oh, Luffy's getting a little bit decimated, gonna be honest. Black playing phenomenal. Not even going for putting the king in the center, but just going for checkmate. Luffy getting gobsmacked at the moment. Gives a check, but that king is very close to coming in. Oh, man. And that is checkmate. Wow. What a very quick game 1. But the win does go to Garv, who is now up 1-0 in the best of 3 matchup. Let's go ahead and get the next game going. All right, let's spin the wheel. Where is the game wheel? Hello, hello. All right. Game 2 of the best of 3 matchup will be... What will it be? Free sub! I have to give y'all a free sub. And the sub is gifted. It has been given to Not Pabu. Congratulations. Great pull. Very well done. Now Babu getting the gifted sub. Congratulations, man. Great pull. Great luck. Good work. All right. Let's spin the wheel once again. Oh, man. Oh, Garv is not 2200, by the way. Racing Kings. I have no idea what this is. I think it's... Okay, Racing Kings. This is game number 2. Good luck, good luck. Let's go get the game set up. I will look at the board and then be able to decide. I believe the king has to get to the other side of the board as quickly as possible. Garv is going to have the white pieces. Luffy is going to have the black pieces just to switch the colors from last time. May the games begin. All right. Racing Kings, your goal is to get the king to the other side of the board. Go as fast as possible. Whatever strategy works, you got it. Figure it out. Good luck. And the king is going. Garv immediately pushing the king. Oh, man. Now, this could be anybody's game. I personally have no idea how to play this. Already with some strategies, you know, cutting off the king from coming forward. The king continues to push. Oh, man. This is going to be very exciting. It's a draw, really. It's a draw if black makes it at the same time. So if the white king makes it and then the black king makes it, it will be a draw. But the king's just going. But as you can see, these bishops prevent the black king from truly just making it all the way. We'll see how it goes. Oh, man. Good luck to both players. Both kings charging down the board. I really don't know strategies for this, but so far I think both players are doing pretty good. They've made the same moves, you know? And the queen coming straight up to c7 or c6, trying to put pressure on the black king, preventing the king from moving any forward. And now you cannot repeat. You cannot make the same move as you could just recapture. So you have to make a decision here. Oh, man. Good luck, good luck. I'd like to take the bishop. That's a very interesting move. Very interesting move, actually. I'm curious how that will play out. I'd probably like to take this bishop as well. I don't know. Rook b6 is a move. Rook b6. Yes. Or rook b6 here. And then trying to give a check. I like it. I like it. But now the king can actually just kind of come forward again. And how do you stop it? How do you stop it? I mean, the bishops are protecting, you know, these squares and stuff. But the king is going to get one step closer. Checking is taboo. You cannot check. Really? Checking is taboo? What do you mean? He can't because of my bishop? Wait. He can still go, but you capture the king, right? The bishop covers h6. Yes. Oh, yeah. My fault. My fault. The king literally cannot go. Ah! Read the rules. Checks are not allowed. Oh. I did not know that. Okay, so checks are... Okay, yeah, checks are not allowed. So you cannot actually just give a check with a piece. There is no checkmates in this. So the goal is really just to halt the connection of the king. Okay, yeah, that does change things a lot. So no checks can be given. So that means if you go here, you cannot recapture with either piece because you cannot give a check to the king. Queen slides up, but now I imagine, oh, you still can't push, duh. But you could probably go this way and then come out and try to go. But for check reasons, you cannot give this check. Even if it can be recaptured, you cannot capture with check. So that's very interesting. Okay. Now, I imagine taking is good. Maybe. The queen is protected. This is very interesting. Queen slides back over. Kind of blocking any sort of path. Rook b6 is finally played. Now allowing more movement. Neither piece can take. The bishop cannot take because that will come with check. The queen cannot take because that will come with check. So then you'll just be able to go. The black king, honestly, making his way down the side of the board, might get there first. You would have loved Racing Kings. You knew all the theory and stuff. That's fun. Understanding theory and strategy is fantastic. But now the queen is just lost. You can actually take here, but you can also move forward and keep it going. And then it'll go take. And it's going to be very difficult for you to make it there. Oh, man. I believe the black king can just go forward. There is no checkmate. It decides to take the queen. Okay. No checks are given. Now electing to try to trade off the rooks, but now the king can go. I do believe that you can go. Good move. Because now, actually, yeah, no, the rook cannot take. You cannot take back with either piece. Oh, my man, I really wish I understood this more. L adds. Ah, man, okay. I thought it would give me a notification for that, but I guess it did not. Okay. Now you take the bishop, and now the rook is going to fall, and the king is going to go. If you see this coming forward, good move. Takes another piece. A lot of pieces are flying off the board now, but is that just a golden path? Is it just a golden path forward? Pieces are flying off the board, but these rooks are dominating right now. Now I imagine, oh, you can't even give a check, yeah, but you could probably try to elect to bring the knight. Oh man, the king can't. The king is coming forward. The king is now 2 squares away from winning. Both paths work, but we cut it off. But now you probably have rook here. Rook here, but then you take. Then push. And then it would be a draw. Good move. Completely cutting off the king. Or, attacking the queen. And you still can't push. Okay, I don't know. I'm trying to, reason here, but I really can't, understand what the hell is going on. I'm going to be so real with you. But that's a good move. I mean, the king kind of does just have free paths, but finds the only move to prevent the king from coming forward. Garv now down to 30 seconds. He is running very low on time. Now that, I like that a lot. Now the king is just going to go, and there is no stopping it. There is no stopping promotion. That is just going to be game. I do believe the white king is going all the way. Yeah? Now 1 square away from queening, but you do just have rook to g8, and it's going to be over. Yep. And now the promotion square is inevitable, and the game will be over. Congratulations, Luffy. Winning one of the most critical... Actually, no. Wait, boy is white. Luffy. You played your best. Congratulations, Garv, for moving on to the next round. There's no way to stop the king getting to the side of the board. Great play with the rooks. I really like how you achieve that. But now you have block. And then you can block with the final rook, or you just take the queen. Yeah. And then you promote. Congratulations. Congratulations, Garv. You have won your first matchup 2-0, and you will be moving on to the finale. Congratulations. What a performance. Very well played. Boy for life, finally moving on to the finale. But let's go back to the round 1 home screen, where Luffy, I'm sorry, but you have been eliminated. Thank you for playing. It was a pleasure having you. Now we have King xe4 versus Not Pabu. 2 absolute powerhouses of this tournament. Not Pabu, 2200 blitz. King xe4, around 1800 blitz, but 2000 rapid. But Not Pabu is definitely the higher champ. King xe4, by far the underdog and the crowd favorite. So let's go back over and spin the wheel and see what game we're going to have. Okay, so for game 1 of this matchup, what do we have? What will game 1 be of the best of 3? Well, we just have 3-0 blitz chess. Now, this is going to be rough. Not Pabu is 2200 rated blitz. King xe4 is 1600, but the wheel has decided. Now, we're not... Okay, so I meant to mention that both players are going to have a veto. I was just going to save that for the finale, but honestly, I do feel like this battle is going to be very lopsided, so I might have to respin the blitz chess. So I think I am going to respin. I apologize, just to make it more balanced, because a 600 point difference in blitz specifically is going to be hard. Sorry, Not Pabu. Can you say rough 3 times for the video? I will not do that. We have atomic chess. Now, since King xe4 did say no, no. Not Pabu, you can veto this if you would like. I will be giving King xe4 the white pieces. Chess Novice, you cannot play. You were late. The tournament is already undergo. Not Pabu is fine with atomic. I am going to give King xe4 the white pieces, though, just because he is the lower rated player. I will get everybody set up. Okay. Good luck to those involved. So for the first round of the best of 3 matchup, we have 3-2. 3 minutes, 2 seconds back. Atomic chess. King xe4 will have the white pieces. Not Pabu with the black pieces. Let's begin. All right. Good luck to both players involved. Good luck. Good luck. A knight immediately coming to the edge of the board. So with Atomic, pieces just explode. If you know how to play, you know that if you take this pawn, all of these pieces are going to get erased. Knight coming out to the edge of the board. It seems like both players know what they're doing, which is actually pretty cool. So, yes, this is the best tournament in terms of smoothness. By far. It is only 6:30. It's only been an hour and we're almost at the finale. By far the smoothest tournament that I've hosted. Both players legitimately actually knowing theory and ideas. This is actually a very competitive matchup. The knight is now threatened, but queen here would just be game over. But blocks with the pawn. Knight now jumps into the center, and that's going to be game over. You have to take with the bishop. Yeah. Knight is now falling off the board. Oh, man. Both players actually... sorry. Not GG's. Yeah, I forgot about the bishop. But players, both the bishops... Pawns don't explode. Well, the pawns capturing don't explode, I don't believe. Okay, yeah, except pawns. Capturing a piece leads to an explosion that affects every adjacent piece except pawns. But both players actually knowing how to play is very, very fun. You know, I trusted you. I'm sorry, Derpole. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Bishop now sliding over to the edge of the board. So this capture... Oh, I guess when pawns capture each other, it doesn't explode. But this capture will take out the queen, I believe. Okay. Bishop a3 is played. Now, if you capture this, the queen will be removed, from my understanding. Queen drops back, kind of bring itself to safety. And now all of the pieces over here have been absolutely just obliterated. Good plays by Not Pabu. So far, king xe4 now on the back foot. The pawn structure kind of prevents a lot of pieces from getting in. Now it likes to take in the center. Now this would be a catastrophic mistake, as king xe4 would just win. Both pawns are off. I really don't see how you continue. Oh, man. So far, great game by both players. Great game by both players. Having competitors who understand atomic chess makes it a lot more intriguing. But now this pawn is threatened. You have to block with the queen, but this check can be given. Is this going to be checkmate? I don't believe there's any way. Is there any way to prevent this pawn from exploding, you know? Cager, were you just from work? No, I'm just dressed up. I woke up like an hour ago. I'm dressed up for the tournament, man. And that is game. King xe4 has resigned, as checkmate or pieces exploding was inevitable. Congratulations, Not Pabu. You have won game 1 of the best of 3 matchup. So far, Not Pabu absolutely just steamrolling the competition with no threats. He is absolutely cooking right now. Not Pabu moving on. All right. Not Pabu with 1 win. King xe4 with 0. I need to find the wheel. Hello. All right. What will game number 2 be? Not Pabu, you do have a veto since we decided not to do 3-0 chess. So you can say no. We have 1-0 bullet chess. Not Pabu, would you like to veto? Because this might be a beatdown. King xe4, I wish you the best of luck. I wish you the best of luck, man. But I am not going to respin the wheel. Yeah, good luck. Good luck, King xe4. You will do... I wish you the best of luck. Oh, man. This will be exciting. Okay. Game is going. All right, good luck to both players involved. The bullet chest is now off. Pieces are flying. Decisions are being made at rapid speed. Pre-moves. Holy cow. Everything is going so quick. King xe4 does, in fact, have the white pieces. Not Pabu on the back foot, moving his bishop back, immediately pushing the pawns to attack the bishop. Probably recapture with the pawn is best. Oh, man. Black king is still in the center. Probably give a check with the rook or the queen. Likes to take the bishop on the side of the board and then gives a check. Bishop blocks. Now the bishop coming out, putting pressure on the knight, which you can probably go ahead and take and win the pawn. Bring the king up forward. The pawn is now protected. Rook to b1 is played. Bishop to b4, putting a pin on the knight. Knight moves back. Now you can take the rook, be up in exchange if you elect to do that. Queen comes forward, decides not to take the exchange, and elects to play fast. Now the bishop is now blocked, backs up. All right, both players now down to 30 seconds. Oh, and there is no time back. If you run out of time, you do lose. Elect to take the bishop. Take. Is the rook going to get traded as well? No, decides to push h4. Bishop drops back one. Just making a very quick move. King xe4 now down 3 seconds. This is now going to be checkmate, but King xe4 does understand that he needs to defend it. Decides to push the pawn. Now if you take, you will have check. Napabu making a long decision. Takes. Rook is now more active on the b file, trying to put pressure on the b2 pawn. Rook comes up. Doubles the pawns. Takes. Okay, now we're going into an endgame. Both players with 15 seconds. Pawns are moving. King slides over. Takes. All right. Rook slides over. King comes forward. King now in the center of the board. Both players equal, but down to 12 seconds. All right, but now that is a passed pawn on the e-file. Both pawns are going to promote at the same time. Gives a check. Trades off queens. But now the black king is just closer. Oh, yeah, the take. You absolutely had to take there. Oh, no. King xe4 falling down. Now will Napabu be able to checkmate in 5 seconds? My guess is probably yes. And that is going to be game. Oh, man. Napabu with an incredible performance. King xe4, I'm sorry, but you have been eliminated from the tournament. It is unfortunate. You tried your best, but Napabu did get the best of you. And now, congratulations, Napabu. You are moving on to the championship finale, which this will be a best of 5 chess invariance matchup. We will spin the wheel. Both of y'all do have a veto to suspend the game and re-roll, respin. Let me get the title updated and we will begin. All right. Championship. Dublin. Thank you for 1 bit. Much appreciated. Garv versus Napabu. Now, Garv is by far the underdog here. He is about 1600 rapid elo, and Napabu is well above that. So hopefully there's enough variance in this championship for him to have a fair shot at this. He will start with the white pieces, and Napabu will have the black pieces. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel to get the first game of the championship best of 5. All right. Game wheel. Wheel of names. What will game number 1 be? Let's see. We have Mini House. So if you know Crazy House, you know that if you capture a piece, you're able to place it back on the board. Mini House is the exact same thing, but on a much smaller scale. I'm going to go ahead and get both players invited, and we'll get the game started in a second. I will explain it more in a second, boy. Just trust the process, okay? Both players have been invited. Now this is the field of play. This is Mini House. If you capture a piece, you're able to put it back on the board. First player to checkmate the opponent, enemy king, wins. I wish both players the best of luck. Garv is going to have the white pieces. Napabu is going to have the black pieces. I wish you the best of luck. The time control is going to be 3-2 blitz, and the game is now starting. Good luck. Good luck. Ooh, man. This will be very exciting. Okay, so we have take. Now both players are able to place a rook down on the board, and they elect to do so. King now has to move, or you can also elect to block with the rook, which he chooses to do. Now we're probably gonna have capture again. Okay. Napabu electing to pin the knight, and Garv electing to trade rooks. Okay, I'm trying to keep up. Now pieces can still be placed. Now, I believe the strategy here is to be the one to capture first and then to place with check because you do get tempo. It gives another knight check, and now the rook is defended. And now you see how Garv is now on the back foot. And he has to react to Napabuv's moves. Both pawns have not moved yet, and the black knight also has not moved. But it's also about taking control of pieces, because if you can get both rooks on the board for your side, you know, that's very good. Okay. And pawns can be placed. You say draw incoming, but yeah. Wear hat. I will for the finale. Come on. A check has been given with the knight. What will Garv decide to do? Tries to slide it over. Another check can be given, but you do have to prioritize the safety of the rook. Rook slides over, trying to take out the pawn. But now you can place both a bishop and a rook on. Now, a move that I kind of like would be bishop here, trying to put this pin on, but decides to defend and block with the rook. I also like this move. I like this move a lot, trying to get your most powerful piece back into the game. Now, you can place the bishop anywhere on the board and elects to pin the knight with it. Now, I actually really do like Boy for Life's position. I feel like he has made a full-blown comeback. And his position is looking mighty nice right now. Both players with pretty decent time control. Not Pabu down a minute. Garv only down 20 seconds. Oh, man. Whew. I need to do this. There we go. What will Not Pabu decide to do here? Is he going to move the knight? Well, he can't move the knight. What am I talking about? Loki, honestly, kind of running out of ideas. Tries to bring the king over to the left side of the board. But now elects to take the knight. And push the pawn, doesn't even take back. That's very interesting. Is that going to be a mistake? I do believe that is just a mistake. Because now you can save the bishop. But yeah, by placing the knight. And now Garv is just up a piece. Gives a check, but you can take with the bishop. Take. And now the bishop is protected. Gives another check. Now, if Garv can manage to find a fork on the board somewhere and takes the rook. Oh my god. Garv. Just utter domination. Holy cow. And Garv, the underdog, takes round 1 of the best of 5. Completely unexpected. Congratulations on your win. You played phenomenal. I applaud thee. Completely unexpected. I thought Napabu was just going to wipe the floor for this tournament. But Boy for Life, taking game number 1 of the best of 5. Let's go ahead and decide game number 2. What will it be? Remember, both players do have a veto. So if you see a game that you do not like, spam the chat. All right. Game number 2. Garv winning the first one. Score is 1-0. We have Puzzle Battle. Now, am I actually able to even watch this? I have this on the board, and I would love to be able to watch it. Am I able to watch a puzzle battle? Boy for Life elects to skip it, so we don't even have to worry about it. Yeah, Puzzle Battle is on here. Yeah, I can't. I'm getting mixed reactions, but Boy for Life, Garv, does elect to veto this game, so I will remove it from the wheel. All right. Spinning it one more time. All right. We have 10-0 Rapid Chess. Not Pabu, you can elect to veto, but I don't think you are going to. Is this a game that you would like to play? 10-0 Rapid Chess. Yeah, this is an unlucky matchup, but there are quite a few regular. It's probably you're good with this. All right, I will go. Y'all go ahead and get the game set up, and I will spectate. I wish you the best. I mean, both players, it can happen. I've seen Boy for Life. I've seen Garv absolutely lock in and win games. Not Pabu, you are going to have the white pieces. Since Garv did have the white pieces before, you will have white. Not random, boy. We switch off colors. So, not Pabu, you have the white pieces. All right, I will wait for the game to start, and the game has started. All right. And we are off. Not Pabu playing an English opening with the bishop out. Okay, the game is off. Electing to play d4 and bishop out. Knight is now developed and probably going to try to get an early castle out. Electing to change the pawn. Both players playing very fast. Reminder, you do have 10 minutes. So you can slow down just a little bit if you would like. Start a poll. It will be fun. I'm Justin. Nice to meet you, Popstar. I will start a poll, but I want to commentate. Zigzy, if you are able to start a poll, that would be huge. If you're capable of doing that, that would be great. Like a prediction. All right, and welcome in. But I would start a prediction, but I do want to focus on the game. So knight jumps over to g5, putting pressure on the light square bishop. The bishop elects to drop back. Now, and a pawn is fallen. I didn't even see that. I'm going to be real. And the bishop drops back. Just a sniper. Just one quick little jab to the corner of the board. Taking a pawn. The knight is now kicked out. Probably going to have to drop back. Drop back's in front of the bishop. Probably a safer square. I would be cautious about this pawn coming forward. But that might be an overextension. The bishop now develops, putting pressure on the knight and the bishop. But this knight still needs to get into the game. Now plays d4. Very active move. Now takes. And now the pawns in the center of the board are fallen. The bishop is traded. And now I will say that black does have sort of backwards pawns. I do really like white's position. I feel like it is far more open. Oh, man. Knight jumps into the edge of the board with a fork. A fork on the board with the queen and rook. Queen to A8 is played. Now, and instead of trading, holy cow. Oh, but that loses the queen. Oh, but there's a pin. Wait a minute. Never mind. Oh my God. Wait, was that just a full-on mistake? That was just a full-on blunder, thinking that he had a tactic, but it was pinned to the king because the bishop was traded. And now Garv is just up a full piece. Holy cow, what a turnaround. Garv now up a full piece of material. Not Pabu with an historic blunder. Oh my goodness. I thought there was a tactic on the board. I thought I saw it. All right, close the prediction. Close the prediction now, by the way, so people can't change it. Close the prediction and we'll decide it later. Oh my goodness. What a turnaround. Garv now taking full control of the game, putting a rook down on the semi-open file. Oh man, but now the knight. Now Garv's goal is to just trade off all the pieces that he can. So moves like knight here, trying to trade off any piece would be active. Now, if you could trade off queens, that would be huge. But you need to get this rook more into the game. Probably drop it back. Maybe try to double on the e-file. Oh, man. All right. Sorry. My throat. I've been yapping like nonstop. Okay, so the queen comes forward. Now not Pabu with his biggest tank of the game. What he's going to do, he has to play recovery mode, which I did not think would happen so early into the game. Not Pabu rushing his opening and losing a knight. What a travesty. He could have been up in exchange, just up a clean exchange, but he decided to go for trickery. What an unfortunate mistake. Knight jumps into the center. Now, one thing that you do have to avoid is making unnecessary trades that don't benefit you, because if more pieces are off the board, Garv is just going to win the endgame. Oh, man. Elects to kick out the queen. The queen is going to have to move. You could probably come forward, but you do have to be cautious about losing the bishop. Tactics. There are tactics on the board now. But you can't take. But I do think take, and then I do believe that is just clean on the... Well, take with the rook. I'll be quiet. Never mind. You do have to be cautious about losing this pawn. You can't really move this rook. But I do see that the rook can recapture. Okay. Very interesting position. I do like the infiltration of the black king. It's very hard to remove it. Especially with like trying to avoid a trade and protecting your b-pawn. Elects to try to kick out the knight. Now, a trade could happen where the queen is captured, but the knight is going to have to move. Takes, and now the knight has to move. Drops back. I like this play. It's safe. It's a lot safer. And then trying to do something out like this and getting immediately kicked around. Now trying to break open the center of the board. Because if this pawn, notice how the knight is not protected by any piece. Neither is the bishop. So if this takes were to happen, things could happen. I'm trying to provide. Oh, man, this commentary. Okay, so elects to protect the pawn, and also developing his rook off the back rank. Garv, now with pretty much all of the initiative, he has stabilized the position, and queens are now off the board. What an amazing queen trade by him. But now he does have to. These are critical moments that you have to decide in this game. Tries to double the rooks. I like the play, really putting pressure on that b-pawn. Oh, man. What will happen? Sliding. Oh, man. Okay. Now, this pawn is definitely just a critical weakness. It is a backwards pawn in this moment. Elects to push and attack the knight. Trade. Now the knight has to move. But this pawn is very close to queening. Now, you could even make one more trade, but I would be very cautious about making so many trades, because if all the pieces fall off the board, black is just going to have an extra piece there. Knight comes out to the side. That pawn is still very scary. It's very dangerous, but it's kind of hard to... You can't put a rook here because this bishop is being a menace. You could slide over here and try to push, but the rook is always going to be able to block. But I do think this is all but over, because Garv can absolutely make another mistake. But is he going to take a 2-0 lead in the best of 5 series? That would be incredible. An underdog story, for real. Why is Pabu so eager to trade down material? He's not. I don't believe he is. The queen trade was practically forced at that moment. And the king comes forward, trying to recapture the pawn. Garv using the clock very well, only using 2.5 minutes. Garv being up a piece and with a time advantage is crucial here. Really, everything is pointing into Garv taking a 2-0 series lead, but something crazy could happen. A tactic might fall. A tactic might be on the board, you know? Oh, man. Yeah, we're at 100 people in a Discord. Let's go. If you want to play in the next Cager Chess Championship, you have to go ahead and join the Discord, and I will post the announcement. I'm going to probably start hosting these every Friday. So, yeah. Okay, so the rook slides over to e1, now protecting the pawn, which is kind of threatening to promote, but not really, because there are sufficient defenses on the e8 square. The knight, the king, and the rook all protect, and I really don't see any way through. I really don't know what white does here. Black elects to play c6. It's a move. And it also allows another attacker on the pawn, which is now threatening to recapture. I actually really like c6. c6 is an incredible move by Garv. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't believe that white really has any attack. And you have to remember that this pawn is still technically hanging. Tries to push the pawn, but I really don't think that achieves anything. Yeah, and then takes. And now this trade is almost forced. Because this black rook is just going to go back and then try to win this pawn as well. Garv, with all of the momentum right now, elects to trade. Takes. And bring the king. In any end games, you do need to bring the king to the center. But it's kind of difficult when you're down a knight. The pawn material is equal, but it is all but over, honestly. And the rook comes down to b4, kind of stopping the pawn going up to b4 and also cutting off the king. Elects to protect the pawns and kind of make a three-man structure over here. But I don't see how black continues here other than really trying to get trades. If white is able to set up a fortress, that would be crucial. The black knight jumping right into the center of the board, but loses a pawn. But a pawn does in fact fall. Gives a check, king slides over. Now all the pawns are protected. That is a crucial pawn because now white does have a passed pawn that he can play for. And that is gonna go. If this black knight is removed, there's a chance that could happen. Now you can elect to push and give a check. The king would probably have to come forward or back. But it decides to bring the king over to the side, trying to win the pawn and bring the king to the promotion square to assist the pawn. White now actually having some incredible counterplay. Oh man, I don't believe that there are any forced trades. Is there? Yeah, I was looking at this check right afterwards. You have to come forward. Are there any moves? There is no checkmate, surprisingly. But it's very close. I don't believe there are any checks. Oh man. Anything could happen right now. This king, if anything, this bishop check just kind of allows the king to continue his plan. The king was coming up in this way anyway. Napabu roaring with a comeback. Garv now eating into his time lead, only up 30 seconds. He has to make a critical decision here, but I really don't see an opening. I don't see how he goes forward. Decides to bring the rook, and another pawn falls. Takes, but the F pawn falls as well. But he doesn't take. Oh, no, what am I talking about? This pawn is protected. Oh my god. Napabu now with a 3-on-none push on the right side of the board. All of the counterplay roaring back. Holy cow. That pawn is going. The black king retreats. It is anybody's game. Napabu playing beautiful counterplay. Absolutely stunning play by the white side. Now I actually do think that Napabu has an advantage here. I don't see how black is going to stop those 3 passed pawns from pushing. They're just going to start going. The H pawn is going to lag behind a little bit, but the F and G pawn are just going. Oh, man. The bishop comes forward, putting pressure on the G5 pawn. The king can't really come forward as you can't really lose that pawn. Oh, what is white going to do here? But what a roaring comeback. Having 2 passed pawns is critical, especially if you're trying to mount counterplay. Now, white could elect to go after these pawns on this side of the board as they are weaker, but decides to bring the king into the center of the board. I do like this move still, but I would like to see some counterplay. You know, you can win a couple more pawns. You would just be completely winning. But I thought rook c3 was probably crushing here. Rook drops back, trying to get behind the white pawns, but now rook c3 is played with pressure on this pawn. There is no way to defend it. Gives a check. King probably will comes forward towards the bishop, putting an attack. The bishop is trapped. The bishop is trapped on the side of the board. White is going to pick up another piece, and it's going to have a material lead with 3 pawns on none down the side of the board. The bishop has no moves. This check prevented, oh my goodness, 2 passed pawns on this side of the board, and now it is a rook and pawn endgame. But this pawn is going to fall. There is no way to defend it. The pawn decides to push. You could probably take, and then maybe give a check and try to push the pawn. But it might be good. You know, you can get behind the pawn, but you got to be very cautious about this pawn going. But now you can get behind it. Now you can just go. Takes another pawn. Decides he has enough time. And then get back. But now you just have 4 passed pawns. And this pawn is stalled. Even if he loses the rook for the pawn. Even if he makes that trade. If he is able to. I don't even see how black can promote. Oh my goodness. What a turnaround. And now the a5 pawn. Now the a pawn is going. And there is no way to stop it. Napabu, with an incredible comeback, down a full piece of material, started gobbling up pawns, and then ended up trapping the bishop on the side of the board. What an incredible game. The rook is just in time to stop the pawn, but then you could continue to push the b pawn. You could even elect to take and then go into a 3-on-none rook and pawn endgame. That is an option if you would like to do so, because if black were to take, you can't actually take back. So I think here you do have to take this pawn. Napabu down to 3.5 minutes. Garv with a 30-second lead. Both players, over 60% of their clock has been used. Oh, man. I do believe you have to take here because you're not going to be able to recapture anyway. But you might lose this pawn as well, actually. Yeah, 2 pawns. Now it's going to go take, and this pawn falls as well. Oh, my goodness. Gives a check first. But it's going to be this is going to be an incredible endgame. Let's see if Garv can actually hold up and defend himself against these 2 pawns completely on opposite sides of the board. Puts the rook smack dab in the center, trying to cut off the king from coming over. And that's just a loss of a... But now this pawn is going. Is there any way to stop it? I do believe that this is winning for white if they play it correctly. This king, yeah, the pawn is going. Pawn and king. The king is not close enough to actually play defense because the rook is cut off. What an amazing game time decision made by the white pieces to cut off the king from this side of the board, give up this pawn on the outside, and push the b pawn. There is no stopping this b pawn. The game is all but over. And black resigns. What a comeback by Napabu to take the win. What a game. The score is now tied 1-1. And we're going to go on to game number 3. Napabu, what an incredible comeback. And Garv, I'm sorry, but the game got out of your hands. You had it. Oh, man. Go ahead and decide the winner, Zigzy, on the predictions. I'm going to go ahead and get game number 3 set up. Well done. Well done by Napabu. What a comeback. All right. Game number 3 of the best of 5 matchup. Players both tied 1-1. What will it be? Now, Boy already used his veto, but Napabu, you do have a veto. We are not going to do duplicate games, so. And we have 3 check. So, your goal is to check the enemy king 3 times. And that's how you win. You can either win by checkmate or by 3 checks. Okay, Napabu, you do have a veto. You have the option to veto here. I'm waiting for his reaction. It will be 3 check. You're good with 3 check. All right. I will go ahead and get the game set up. Good luck to both players. Go ahead and go over to the variant section of chess.com. I've invited both players. All right. Garv will have the white pieces, Napabu with the black pieces. Let's begin game 4 or game 3 of the best of 5 Cager Chess Championship finale. Good luck to both players. Okay. The game has begun. Garv with the white pieces. Napabu with the black. Oh, man. Score is tied 1-1. Game 3. Probably one of the most critical games that you can ever have in a Cager Chess Championship. Your goal in this game is to check the enemy king 3 times. If you do so, you do win. Ooh, it is best of 5. There are minimum or at maximum 2 more games. It is first to 3 wins. Good luck, good luck. I'm excited. Okay, so both players off to an interesting opening. Napabu electing to play, a standard like Pierce defense, modern to set up, something along those lines. And Garv just kind of making moves, trying to get his queen out earlier to give checks. But Napabu playing fantastic defense, not allowing any checks on the board, not letting any of the squares near his king be exposed. Oh, man. Good luck, good luck. 2 pawns in the center by Napabu, honestly taking the lead. Knight jumps out to the edge of the board, probably to rotate around back to g4 and maybe make that trade. The king is not safe from checks from the center of the board. You have to be very cautious. But neither king is choosing the castle. Knight jumps all the way back. I imagine that's to rotate. 1 check has been given. 2 checks have been given. Napabu down to a single life. What a play by Garv, going back-to-back checks. Now a single check is all you need to win the game. That means every sacrifice can be available. Holy shit. Garv still with all 3 of his lives. Napabu down to 1. This is not good. You say it's not good sacking the queen, but you just need to give 1 check. So anything that you can do to make that happen, you need to. Oh, man. I do still like the play, but maybe you don't want to lose. Maybe you don't want to lose the queen so early. Maybe the queen is just that powerful of a piece in 3 check. Alexa push the pawn. Still, none of the squares around the king are in danger, but checkmates can still happen in this game. And it's honestly looking pretty scary for the white side, or for the black side. Oh, man. Anything could happen here. White's pieces really are lacking heavy in development. If the black king is able to get to safety and not allow any checks, very reasonably, you could give up a checkmate. Boy for life now with his biggest think of the game. Oh, man. Hey, Cager, how's it hanging? Did you wake up really early or stay up really late? I woke up really early. I wake up at 4:30 to stream for about like 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And Alexis slide the rook up 1, actually removing the defense of this pawn, which is immediately made. Oh, goodness. Now, the rook could slide over, but another pawn could fall. Pawns are going to start falling. I do believe that this is a bad move. You need to defend that pawn. The king is now still completely stuck in the center. This bishop is never going to see the light of day. Knight slides over, but that's, well, you probably don't want to give that check, but you might want to give another check with the bishop, and then you might actually even win this game. Now this pawn, oh my goodness. Now the light squares are a serious threat, but so is this. Those 2 checks could actually decide the game, and it could be over. Oh my goodness, anything could happen. I really don't see how Garv defends this. Now down to a minute 10. He's going to have to think on his feet. He is running out of time. There's not a lot of time left on the clock for him to make these decisions. Napabu up with a minute 30. Oh man, anything could happen. King Alexis slide over. Gives 1 check. Retakes. Now no more checks can be given immediately. And this bishop is going to come alive. Puts pressure on the knight, and the knight has to... I'm not sure if the knight can defend itself. Oh, goodness. How does the knight defend itself without allowing more checks? King comes forward, the knight's going to fall. And then maybe the bishop afterwards. Oh, my goodness. White now on the run after taking 2 lives in the beginning. Maybe that was too eager. Was that too soon? The game may end soon. I don't see how white stops 2 more checks from happening. The game could very well be over. Garv now down to 28 seconds. He has to make a move. He is running low on time. How is he going to defend himself? The game is almost over. He has to make a move. Down to 20 seconds on the clock. You only get 2 seconds back. Even if you do manage to survive this without losing, you're going to be low on time. Now down to 10 seconds. He has to make a move. Napabu is going to take game 3 of the Cager Chess Championship. No more checks can be given. Elects to push the pawn on b4. Gives a check, but that's going to be game over. You should have taken, and that's game. Napabu with a roaring comeback in this game. Now going up 2-1 in the series. Board for life, you tried your best, but it was too late. Pabu now only needing 1 game to secure his spot as the champion of the Cager Chess Championship. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's go ahead and decide game number 5 Or game number 4, sorry. What will it be? Not Pabu, you still do have a veto. Boy for life, you have already used yours. Let's see what we got. What will game number 4 be? Not Pabu taking a 2-1 series lead. And we have setup chess. This is a very interesting game mode. Because if both players don't really know how to play it, you know, Not Pabu elects to veto the game. Okay, it will be removed. All right. Both vetoes have been used, so that means no matter what, unless it is a repeat of a game that has already been played, the next game will happen. All right. What will this game be? What will decide? Yo. 1-0 Bullet Chest 960. Oh, shit. It is about to go down. Not 1-0 Bullet Chest 960 is crazy. This is going to be a mess. No theory is going to happen. It is just going. Can I get a veto because I'm way lower? No, you cannot. There are no more vetoes. You will have to play this. Good luck, boy. I wish you the best of luck. Not Pabu. You are the favorite to win this. Let's see if you can pull one out. Both players have been invited, and both players are now in the game. Garv is going to have the black pieces, not Pabu with the white pieces. This could very well decide the winner of the Cagers, of the 5th ever Cagers Chess Championship. I wish both competitors the best of luck. If not Pabu wins this game, he wins it all. And if Garv wins it, he brings it up to 2-2, and we will go to game number 5. All right. I have shuffled, not Pabu with the white pieces, Garv with the black pieces. Let's begin. Good luck to both players. 1 minute chess 960 bullet. And the game has begun. Good luck to both players. Clock is already ticking. You have to play fast. Not Pabu is spending 4 seconds. Pieces are being moved very quickly. Oh my goodness. I am going to try to commentate. I will just be keeping track of material, but I really don't know. The pieces have been shuffled on the back rank. Trying to play normal openings is not the idea. Long or short castling, actually. Okay. Prevents the queen from infiltrating. So far, I do like white's setup, but black does have some more active pieces, like his queen and bishop are very active. His dark square bishop is kind of being neglected out on the side of the board. Now, there are no special things about this. It's just whoever either runs out of time or leads to checkmate. Garv just making very quick moves, kind of rotating pieces, just trying to play on the clock for this game, which honestly, I do think for chess 960 is the move, because you cannot spend a lot of time making these decisions. We have capture on the side of the board. Queen comes forward. Garv now with a 10-second lead. Not Pabu down to under half his time. This time lead is going to probably decide it, but I do believe that the knight will fall in 1 or 2 moves. But now you can take the bishop. Take. Brings over the rook. The knight will not fall, but then, okay. Not Pabu now down to 20 seconds, running very low on time. He needs to make a decision. Critical decision. And his king is getting ping-ponged. But we have check. I don't believe there's a checkmate, but the bishop does fall. Not Pabu now down to 16 seconds. Garv with the 30-second lead. That is check. King comes over, loses a knight. Probably decides not to go for the queen trade. Loses another knight. Probably needed to take the queen there. Queen side's over. Queen gives a check. Now down to 10 seconds. Not Pabu trades off the queen. Now can not Pabu secure this game in 10 seconds? Garv is going to have to play very fast. Gives a check. Solidifies the knight into the position. Gives another check with the bishop. The king is running out of moves. Takes the bishop. Gives another check. Does the king come forward? Both players down to 8 seconds. Gives another check. The king has to move. Both players very low on time. Black with 5 seconds. White with 6. Black running out of time. Very low. Has 1 second on the clock. 1 second. He's going to run out of time. And not Pabu is crowned the champion of the 5th ever Cagers Chess Championship. Congratulations. You played phenomenally, going through all rounds. Well done. Boy for life. You made it right up into the very end, man. GG's. GG's. It was the fairest I could make it, but that is how the cookie crumbles. Congratulations, Not Pabu, for being the champion of the 5th ever Cagers Chess Championship. Garv, you have been eliminated. Not Pabu, you are the champion. Congratulations. A round of applause for all of the people who competed today. By far the smoothest tournament that I have ever hosted. It was very clean, very nice. Good game. Thank you for all of those who attended and were here. Much appreciated showing out, you know. For all the people who showed up on time, thank you. It really makes my life easier as an announcer. And for all of those who made it to the end of the YouTube video, thank you for watching. Like and also subscribe. You know, it helps me a lot. Liking really does support the video. But thank you. Have a good one. And we will have this championship next Friday. All right. Bye, y'all.